Let's walk on the wise path.
Do you ever pause and ask yourself, am I truly a good person? It seems like a simple enough question, but the answer might be more complex than we think. We all like to believe that we are moral, kind, and just. After all, we hold ourselves to certain values and follow the rules of society. But what if just for a moment, all those rules that keep your morality in place vanished? Would you still act the same? Would your sense of right and wrong be just as solid without the external guideposts you rely on? Before you answer, consider this. You may not be as in control of your morality as you think. Today, we're going to dive deep into the unseen forces that shape your sense of morality. We'll explore the fascinating and sometimes unsettling ideas of two great thinkers, Philip Zimbardo and George Orwell. These two minds challenge the way we think about human nature and morality. Zimbardo, through his groundbreaking psychological experiments, reveals just how easily we can lose our way when placed in certain situations. Orwell, on the other hand, shows us how corrupt systems can manipulate even our best intentions. Together, their ideas offer a sobering perspective. Maybe our sense of goodness is more fragile than we realize. So, before you decide whether you're truly a good person, let's take a step back. Let's question what being good really means and explore how external forces, whether it's the environment we live in or the social structures that shape our lives, can quietly but powerfully influence our behavior. In a world that's constantly pulling us in different directions, is it possible to remain steadfast in our values? Or are we just products of the forces around us, unknowingly shaped by our circumstances? Grab your coffee or tea, sit back, and let's take a closer look at the hidden factors that impact our morality and what we can do to reclaim it. This isn't just about psychology or philosophy. It's about understanding how we can live authentically, how we can align our actions with our deepest values, no matter what's happening around us. Because in the end, the real challenge isn't just being good, it's staying good in a world that's constantly trying to test us. Ready to dive in? Let's get started. Let's start by addressing a tough question. How much control do you actually have over your own actions and moral decisions? It's tempting to think that we're always in the driver's seat when it comes to our morality. After all, we like to believe that we make conscious decisions based on what we think is right. But what if, in reality, your environment is shaping those decisions more than you realize? What if your sense of morality, that inner compass we all think we have, can be easily swayed by the world around you? Philip Zimbardo's research brings this unsettling idea to light. You might have heard about his infamous Stanford prison experiment. In this study, ordinary, everyday people were assigned the roles of either guards or prisoners in a mock prison setting. What happened next was shocking. The participants quickly began to embody their roles in extreme ways. The guards, who were once just regular people, became harsh and even cruel, while the prisoners grew submissive and helpless. None of these participants walked into the experiment as inherently bad people, but the environment, one of power dynamics and control, transformed them into something they never thought they'd become. What this tells us is profound. Our behavior is not solely a product of who we are as individuals. The environment we find ourselves in, the roles we play, and the expectations placed upon us can fundamentally alter our actions. It's not just about character, it's about context. And that's something we often underestimate. Think about your own life. Have you ever found yourself going along with something that didn't sit right with you, simply because everyone else was doing it, or because it was expected? Maybe you didn't speak up when you should have, or you followed a rule without questioning it. That's the subtle power of external forces at work. Zimbardo's research is a wake-up call. It forces us to recognize that we may not be as in control of our actions as we'd like to think. The situations we're placed in, the roles we're given, and the expectations of others can all play a significant role in shaping our behavior. The real challenge, then, is to become aware of these influences and to actively resist them when they steer us away from our core values. Because if we're not careful, we can find ourselves acting in ways that don't align with who we truly are or who we want to be. So far, we've talked about how the environment can influence our behavior. But what happens when the environment isn't just neutral, it's actively corrupt? This brings us to George Orwell's work, which presents us with an even deeper and more troubling question. What does it mean to be a good person in a flawed or unjust system? How do you act morally in a world where the very rules you're supposed to follow are designed to perpetuate injustice? In Orwell's classic works, 1984 and Animal Farm, he paints a bleak picture of societies where the system itself is rotten to the core. In 1984, we see a world controlled by an oppressive regime that manipulates truth and crushes dissent. In Animal Farm, Orwell uses animals to represent the corruption of revolutionary ideals, showing how power can twist even the best intentions. In both cases, the systems are rigged to benefit the few in power while keeping the majority under control. Here's the paradox. In these worlds, following the rules often means contributing to oppression. But breaking the rules? That could make you an enemy of the state. So what's a good person supposed to do? Orwell suggests that in a corrupt system, trying to maintain your morality might actually be a form of defiance. It's an act of resistance to stay true to your values when everything around you is pressuring you to conform. But, and this is the heartbreaking part, it can also feel futile. Imagine trying to plant a garden in poisoned soil. No matter how much you water it, no matter how carefully you tend to it, the environment is working against you. That's what it's like trying to be a good person in a corrupt system. You might want to act justly, but the very system you're part of could be distorting your efforts. In Orwell's world, even the most virtuous actions can be turned into tools of the system. You might start out trying to help, only to realize that you've become part of the very thing you were fighting against. This creates a moral paradox. Being good in a corrupt system might mean breaking the rules, but breaking the rules could have serious consequences. It's a no-win situation, and Orwell forces us to confront the uncomfortable reality that sometimes morality is not rewarded. Sometimes it's punished. But that doesn't mean we should give up. In fact, it makes the fight for goodness all the more important. Orwell challenges us to think critically about the systems we live in and to ask ourselves, are we truly acting with integrity, or are we just following the script laid out for us? So, we've talked about the environment and the system, but let's take a moment to dive even deeper. What truly shapes your morality? Have you ever stopped to think about where your values come from, or how much of your sense of right and wrong is really yours? It's easy to assume that our morality is personal, something we develop on our own through life experiences. But the truth is, our morality is shaped by countless external influences, many of which we don't even realize. From the moment we're born, we're bombarded with messages about what's right and wrong. Our families, schools, workplaces, and even the media all play a part in shaping our sense of morality. Think about it. As children, we're taught to obey authority figures like parents and teachers. We learn early on that certain behaviors are rewarded while others are punished. This helps create social cohesion, sure, but it also creates a form of blind obedience. And here's where it gets tricky sometimes. That obedience can lead us astray. Philip Zimbardo's work highlights the dangers of this blind obedience. When we follow the rules without questioning them, we run the risk of becoming complicit in systems that might not align with our values. For example, in the Stanford prison experiment, participants didn't just wake up one day and decide to become cruel. They followed the script that was given to them, the role of guard or prisoner, without questioning whether those roles were just. This shows us that morality isn't just about personal character, it's about the social scripts we follow. George Orwell takes this idea one step further by showing how, in corrupt systems, the rules themselves can be designed to perpetuate injustice. In 1984, the government manipulates truth to maintain control, and in Animal Farm, the pigs slowly distort the original ideals of the revolution to serve their own interests. In both cases, people or animals in Animal Farm are following the rules, but those rules are leading them down a path of moral decay. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with a critical question. How much of your morality is truly yours, and how much of it is shaped by the world around you? The answer lies in self-awareness. We need to take a step back and reflect on the values we hold. Are they values we truly believe in, or are they just the norms we've been taught to accept? Zimbardo and Orwell show us that external forces, whether it's the environment or the system, are constantly at play, shaping our sense of right and wrong. But the good news is, once we're aware of these influences, we can start to take back control. We can start to question the scripts we've been given and decide for ourselves what it means to be a good person. Now that we've explored the external forces that shape our morality, the next question is, how do we resist them? How do we make sure that our actions are guided by our own internal values, rather than by the pressures of the world around us? This is where the idea of building an inner moral compass comes in, a personal guide that can help you navigate the complexities of right and wrong, no matter what the outside world throws at you. Think of your inner moral compass as an anchor. In the midst of life's storms, the pressures of society, the expectations of others, and the influence of authority, it's your anchor that keeps you grounded in your own values. But here's the catch. Building that compass takes work. It's not something that happens overnight. It requires ongoing reflection, self-awareness, and a willingness to question the norms around you. One of the best ways to start building your inner moral compass is through practices like meditation and mindfulness. You might think meditation is just about sitting quietly, but it's much more than that. It's about creating space for self-reflection. When you meditate, you're training your mind to become more aware of your thoughts, your reactions, and most importantly, the subtle influences that shape your behavior. It's like clearing away the fog so you can see things more clearly. Through meditation, you can begin to cultivate discernment, the ability to recognize when you're being swayed by external pressures. You can start to notice the moments when you're tempted to follow the crowd, or when you're acting out of fear rather than conviction. This awareness gives you the power to make more conscious choices rather than simply reacting to the world around you. But meditation is just one tool. Another crucial aspect of building your moral compass is reflection. Take time to regularly reflect on your actions and your values. Ask yourself, why did I make that choice? Was it aligned with my core beliefs? Or was I just going along with what was expected of me? Journaling can be a powerful tool for this kind of reflection. Writing down your thoughts helps you see patterns in your behavior and gives you insight into the forces that might be influencing you. Finally, surround yourself with people who support your moral growth. Find a community that values integrity and encourages you to stay true to your beliefs. When you're surrounded by like-minded individuals, it becomes easier to resist the pressures of conformity. Together, you can support each other in staying grounded in your values, even when the world around you is trying to pull you in other directions. At the end of the day, building an inner moral compass is about creating a strong foundation of self-awareness and reflection. It's about taking control of your morality, rather than letting the world dictate your actions. And once you have that foundation, you'll be better equipped to navigate the complexities of life with integrity and authenticity.